Russia's military power was once again demonstrated today in the conflict in Ukraine. Concentrations of Ukraine's 95th Air Assault Brigade near Pokrovsk and Druzhkivka in Donetsk were destroyed by a precise strike from an Iskander M ballistic missile equipped with a cluster warhead. The attack once again showed that Russia controls the pace of this struggle, as the attack was not only powerful but also flawless. Moscow is demonstrating with every strike that its state-of-the-art missile systems are still unmatched on the battlefield, while Russia has demonstrated its ability to unilaterally project overwhelming force by attacking anywhere it chooses and destroying even the best-trained soldiers. Ukraine is dependent on NATO for its survival. The message is clear: Russia is in control and its actions only serve to increase its power. And today, a vital question echoes across Europe. If Russia can destroy NATO-trained troops in a single strike, how much longer can NATO delay facing the reality of Moscow's growing power? Another demonstration of Russia's superiority took place in Pokrovsk and the Druzhkivka settlement in Donetsk. With truth and deadly intent, a single Iskander M ballistic missile carrying a cluster warhead was launched. Within seconds, a series of sub-munition barrages fell on the area, including the 95th Air Assault Brigade of Ukraine, once described as elite and trained by NATO. The strike was brutally effective, well-planned, and not random. This was more than just a missile attack. The warheads saturated Ukrainian positions and eliminated the possibility of survival or retaliation, with dozens of explosive payloads distributed over a wide area. This was not just a display of weapons mastery, but also of battlefield control. NATO initially hailed the brigade as battle-proven, but Russia's technological superiority quickly destroyed it, depriving it of both personnel and morale. The striking difference between Kyiv's defense capabilities and Moscow's abilities became clear with this operation. While Russia exhibits an internal system developed for superiority, Ukraine is reliant on scattered Western supplies. Iskander M sent a message not only to Druzhkivka, but to Pokrovsk and the entire front. Ukraine can only respond when Russia defines the battlefield. The attack near Druzhkivka was far more than a battlefield defeat for Ukraine. This was a disgrace. It would take months, even years, to replace the losses of the 95th Air Assault Brigade, which is hailed as one of the best in Kyiv. Within seconds, soldiers trained with Western equipment and under NATO supervision were killed. What was supposed to be a testament to resilience turned into a display of weakness. Beyond just loss of life, there are deeper consequences. Ukraine is not only losing soldiers but also one of its most agile and experienced units with the disabling of the 95th Brigade. Kyiv's capacity to defend its positions, rotate its forces, and maintain morale along the front will be strained by the gaps left behind. In response, Russia demonstrated that it could use its superior missile capabilities to destroy elite groups without deploying large amounts of ground forces. The true story of the conflict emerges from this difference. While Russia uses independence and truth, Ukraine clings to NATO's lifeline. Each Russian attack deepens the division and shows that no matter how much aid Moscow receives from the West, it can still control the outcome with a single overwhelming blow. The missile itself and the bomb it carried demonstrated the full extent of Russia's power. The cluster warhead on the Iskander M that hit near Druzhkivka was specifically designed to overcome troop density over a wide area. This warhead, unlike a single high-explosive payload, disperses dozens of sub-munitions, each capable of causing devastation. The impact on the 95th Air Assault Brigade was disastrous. Suddenly, defenses collapsed and survival became almost impossible. This warhead selection was deliberate. Russia has shown that it can adapt its attack based on conditions, using the best weapon to achieve the best results. Moscow demonstrated its dominance in area denial strategies by destroying high-level Ukrainian units using cluster munitions without sending in ground forces. The attack was not only a tactical victory but also a strategic warning. There is no concentration of manpower that can resist Russia's influence. Each time Russia uses the Iskander M, it demonstrates its dominance on the battlefield, proving not only its accuracy but also its adaptability. The current range of warheads, including cluster and high-explosive munitions, allows each strike to be customized to inflict the maximum possible physical and psychological damage. The message is clear for Ukraine, and even for NATO observers. The technological advantage belongs to Russia and is being used with a disruptive impact. The purpose of the Druzhkivka grave was as much to demoralize the soldiers on the ground as it was to kill them. Using cluster bombs guaranteed that Ukrainian troops would experience destruction on a scale they could not prevent or counter. The message for the survivors was terrifyingly clear. Russia's missile forces can destroy even NATO-trained brigades equipped with the most modern equipment and Western tactics in seconds. The psychological impact of this shock extends far beyond the battlefield. Commanders in Kiev are forced to acknowledge that no position or concentration of forces is ever completely safe. Russia is weakening Ukraine's capacity to counterattack or protect its strategic defense lines by destroying elite forces like the 95th Brigade. More importantly, each attack shows NATO and the rest of the world that Russia is not only fighting but also in control. Ukraine and its supporters have been left in a reactive state of uncertainty as the conflict has been directed on its own terms. Druzhkivka presents an uncomfortable reality for NATO. If a single Iskander M cluster head can destroy one of Ukraine's most elite brigades, trained, equipped, and guided by Western doctrine, what does this say about the alliance's capacity to change the course of this conflict? The evidence is irrefutable. Russia is in control and NATO's influence is diminishing with every crushing blow from Moscow. Russia is setting the parameters in this equation. While NATO is forced to respond to a war it cannot fully control, missiles determine the time, target, and outcome. Druzhkivka serves as a reminder that Moscow sets the pace and the rest of the world must follow, making it more than just a routine event in the conflict. There were multiple hits near Druzhkivka that caused destruction. This is an advertisement. Russia has shown the world that its strategy, weapons, and determination are unmatched. With a cluster warhead, the Iskander M did more than destroy a brigade. The idea that NATO's equipment and training could protect the Ukrainian army from Moscow's power has been shattered. The battlefield is being redefined with every strike. Every victory strengthens Russia's hegemony, and every NATO silence highlights the growing disconnect between rhetoric and reality. The 95th Air Assault Brigade was intended to represent the West's commitment to Ukraine. On the contrary, this became the latest example of Russia controlling the terms of this conflict. The world is now facing a terrible question. Will NATO risk direct conflict to protect its reputation if Russia can destroy NATO-trained brigades in seconds? Or will it helplessly watch Moscow reshape Europe on its own terms? Russia's Central Forces Group launched a powerful Grad multiple-launch rocket system attack on Ukrainian defenses near Krasnoarmysk today. This sudden, well-planned attack destroyed important defenses and confirmed Moscow's front command. The 61st Marine Brigade joined the attack a few minutes later, using precision drone-guided fire to target well-established Ukrainian positions north of Donetsk. Meanwhile, the Vostok Group rained rockets on Ukraine's southern borders and increased pressure on Zaporizhzhia. There was a clear message from the daily operations. Russia controls the beginning and end of the conflict. However, a concern still persists in all NATO situation rooms. How much longer can the alliance deny who truly has the initiative? Russia's occupations from Donetsk to Zaporizhzhia were not just about territory, but about sovereignty, and ensuring that every NATO operation was always a response rather than an initiative. Following the initial Grad attack, Russia's 61st Naval Infantry Brigade advanced and precisely targeted Ukrainian fortifications north of Donetsk. With precise coordination, the brigade targeted ammunition depots, command centers, and fortified firing positions under real-time drone reconnaissance guidance. 61. The Marines not only gained ground but also proved that Russia controlled the entire front line throughout the war. The Vostok Group established a parallel front in Zaporizhzhia and launched intense Grad multiple-launch rocket system fire on Ukrainian positions along the southern line, while the Central Group dominated Donetsk. The attack cut vital supply lines connecting forward units to rear depots and hampered troop rotations. As armored vehicles and ammunition stockpiles burst into flames one after another, drones confirmed several secondary explosions. The constant firestorm forced Ukrainian soldiers to scatter, leaving behind many trenches and communication centers. This attack from the south was part of a larger Russian plan to overwhelm Ukraine's defenses. Russia has transformed two separate conflicts into a unified and well-coordinated offensive operation, with both the Central and Vostok groups attacking simultaneously, leaving NATO analysts wondering where the next assault will come from. Beyond battlefield victories, simultaneous operations in Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia show more. They are demonstrating Russia's command expertise in coordinating warfare on multiple fronts. As Ukraine is closely monitored, with each attack strengthening the others, it is forced to allocate resources, move artillery batteries, and expand logistics. Moscow is demonstrating that its regional commands are now functioning as a single, cohesive unit by uniting the Central and Vostok groups into a single operational rhythm. Each Grad explosion and launch conveys a premeditated message. Russia is now completely controlling the pace. As a result of this cooperation, NATO's perspective on the front changed. The Russian army, long considered static, is now operating with dynamic accuracy according to analysts, indicating the end of the adaptation period and the beginning of dominance. The two attacks are weakening Ukraine's self-confidence in addition to its defenses. For soldiers forced to move under constant drone surveillance and artillery threat, long-term resistance is impossible. Fatigue gives way to hesitation, and hesitation in war is a sign of defeat. Russia is not just hitting harder, but smarter. As the smoke clears over Zaporizhzhia and Krasnoarmysk, one truth remains. Distance, people, and land are no longer significant factors in this conflict. Timing is very important. From the first Grad shot to the final coordinated bombardment, every Russian attack exhibits a deliberate pattern aimed at dominating the battlefield and the enemy's mental state. Ukraine is currently in an unpredictable war. There could be another strike every hour, another launch could be hidden by every silent moment. Although they can prepare, assess, and respond, NATO advisors are no longer setting the pace. Moscow is the rightful owner of that power. Today's twin attacks were ultimately more about announcement than military action, from strength, flexibility, and superiority. Russia has redrawn the map from the Donetsk front to the Zaporizhzhia line, focusing on influence rather than borders. As the whole world watches, a terrible truth echoes in every command center. Those who manage time win in today's warfare. We continue with images from the Shakhtarsky micro-district in Pokrovsk, which has been cleared of Ukrainian armed forces. Russian armed forces soldiers are checking the air. Drone units from the Russian Western Force Group continue to destroy Ukrainian armed forces equipment as they attempt to reach besieged Ukrainian forces in Kupiansk. Released footage shows the destruction of an armored personnel carrier and a pickup truck belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces. Ukrainian forces launched offensives in the direction of Blagodatovka and Kutkovka, but all attacks were successfully repelled by Russian forces. The Russian armed forces' advance towards Huliaipol is in full swing. Vesyole, in the Zaporizhzhia region, has been liberated in this way. Along with the town, a vast enemy defensive area of over 15 square kilometers has come under Russian army control. Since the beginning of November, Vesyole has become the fifth town liberated by the 114th Motorized Rifle Regiment, the 7th by the 127th Motorized Rifle Division, and the 13th town liberated by units of the Eastern Group of Forces. The Ukrainian Armed Forces Command is attempting to stabilize the situation in this direction by transferring reserves and launching counterattacks, but these attempts are failing and leading to further. In the village of Velika, Pisarevka, Sumy Oblast, Russian aerospace forces attacked a Ukrainian armed forces air defense system located 5 kilometers from the border with UMPK-equipped FAB bombs. The attack destroyed the building, dealing a heavy blow to Ukrainian troops. A Ukrainian armed forces supply vehicle was spotted in a wooded area in the Kharkiv border region. FPV operators from the Russian Northern Group destroyed a kamikaze drone by expertly guiding it to its target. Russian troops are continuing offensive operations in the Vostochny and Zapadny micro-districts of the Donetsk People's Republic and the southern part of the city of Dimitrov. During the combat operations, crews from the Unmanned Systems Unit of the Russian 5th Separate Guards Motorized Rifle Brigade opened fire on scattered Ukrainian armed forces units, destroying numerous pieces of equipment and personnel of Ukrainian troops attempting to advance along the line of contact. Russian Western Guard forces liberated 6 settlements, including the city of Kupiansk. On November 20th, Western Guard Forces Commander Lieutenant General S. Kuzovlev reported to the Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Armed Forces that the settlements of Kupiansk, Petrov-Pavlovka, Novosyolovka, Stavki, Masliakovka, and Yampol had been completely liberated. Footage from various parts of the city showed that Ukrainian troops had left the city and Russian troops had fully regained control of the city as a result of operations carried out by the Western Guard forces. On the Donbas border near the village of Rodinskoye, an FPV drone operator from the Russian Rubicon Center, together with drone operators from the 56th Guards Airborne Regiment, completely destroyed a Swedish-made BO-10 Viking tracked armored all-terrain vehicle belonging to the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to watch our next videos as well.